This presentation is hopefully going to be useful for individuals who are in school, perhaps thinking about apprenticeships as one of their options. I'm going to tell you why apprenticeships is a viable career route for everyone. I've already said that it can be even the parents as well as the children, but I'm going to tell you why it's a good option now. It gives you a chance to get into the workplace. It gives you a chance to understand what the workplace is like and to build your confidence. One of the key things that employers reject people for is if they don't have the sort of skills and the soft skills, as they call it, and the understanding of what it's like in the workplace. So qualifications don't get you good jobs. Qualifications and the right understanding of the workplace give you good jobs. So that's why it's valuable. You earn while you learn, or you learn while you earn. So you're gaining the work experience and the money whilst you're gaining the qualifications. It's all levels. So what I mean by that is it's entry level, level 2, which is the equivalent to GCSEs, right the way up to a master's level. It gives you an opportunity to try a job. So a lot of people, when I was young, when I was 16, when I was 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I still don't really know what I want to do, but actually thinking about setting my career in tablets of stone at that point was, I just couldn't do it. I had no idea. So apprenticeship sometimes, if you look at it as a career pathway, it allows you to take the first step, and it allows you to have different opportunities and different options as you progress. If you are fixated with wanting to get a degree, it is an attractive route. You don't pay £28,000 in tuition fees, because the apprenticeship, although it could be the same university, it's being paid through a different route and it's not out of your pocket. So that's one of the financial reasons for looking at apprenticeships. If you do an apprenticeship, you're already in a workplace. The employers that put people through degree level apprenticeships don't put them through so they can disappear at the end. They put them through because they want to grow staff to keep in their workplace. So you're already on the road to a future career. You don't have to apply for it. Well, you might have to apply for it, but the chances are you will get the job after you've finished your degree. The other thing is that I think the value of apprenticeships is increasingly recognised. 3-4 years ago, people thought of apprenticeships as the last resort. If you don't know what you can do, do an apprenticeship or work in a shop. It's nothing like that now. People of all levels, of all stages in their career planning can use apprenticeships to get right as high as they want to in their careers. Schools are recognising that apprenticeships are valuable, and they're actually now being asked to report on apprenticeships, the number of students that go into apprenticeships, as well as the number of students that go into university, because the government and everyone is starting to recognise that it's a really important route. So there's 3 things to consider, in my view. One is which apprenticeship. One is to think about apprenticeships as job vacancies. They're not college courses, and there's implications that come with that. And the other is to think about career progression, and it doesn't all come at once. You have to take steps, and there's implications on how you work with that. So first we'll start with what apprenticeship. Well, really, that's back to what job, what career. And that's where I think is the most difficult thing, because once you've got an idea about what your career is, you can actually then look at whether or not apprenticeships is a route you want to take to get to that career. In the NHS, there's 350 job roles. Then you add care, then you add children's services, then you add private health, public health. There are so many different jobs in health and social care sector. I don't know them all. Most of the jobs that exist in our world sit in the NHS. And if you widen it to care as well, the NHS is the biggest employer in Europe, does have quite a lot of different jobs requirements. So, just looking quickly at careers, NHS careers, health careers, tons and tons of really good information on careers. All these things are booklets. They've got about 20 different booklets talking about careers in the ambulance service, careers in the dental team, healthcare science, health information. If you don't know what it involves, you can download those booklets, loads of information. On the care side, the organisation called Skills for Care does similar stuff. They have loads of information about the roles in social care, starting your care career, developing your career. They talk about apprenticeships. That's another really good site to look at. Some of you might be thinking, care? I don't want to do care, I want to do health. I want to be in a hospital, I don't want to be in a care home. More and more jobs are becoming more and more crossovered. In the old days, those two organisations wouldn't work very closely together at all. Now, we're working more and more together. If you start in a hospital, you may move into a care home for your next step, you might move back, you might zigzag in your career. So don't think. There's a lot of jobs now that are available, and a lot of apprenticeships that are available in the care sector as well as the NHS. You can look in this tool that I've got the link for. It tells you the sorts of jobs that you might be able to go for at different levels, a whole range of different jobs, so that you can start looking at career pathways. All the sorts of stuff you might want to know. How can I get into social care? How can I progress my career? La la la. I'm giving you little tasters to try and make you think, yeah, that's worth having a look at when I take the link. Then the question, this is an East London website, but it's still as useful for North London. How can I choose between health and social care? Well, what's important here is that there's roles that can be in either. One of the best things that I've found in that website, that government website, is a quick guide. It's only 2 pages, nice and easy, nice and straightforward, and it's a really good thing for a parent or a student who might be interested in apprenticeship. So you don't have to read the book of 50 pages and get really overwhelmed. It's a nice, short version. So that's worth looking at. This is lovely. So this is NHS careers, health careers, and it's a whole list of about, 15 or 20 videos of people that are apprentices. If you want to know why an apprenticeship is useful, speak to the people who are doing it. If you want to feel that maybe it will work for me, really listen to what they have to say. I think that's the most powerful thing to do if that's all you're going to do. Equally, the Skills for Care one has got the same version, different format, but if you click on there, you start to talk or listen to people that are talking about apprenticeships, real people. Then there's apprenticeship standards. Now, an apprenticeship standard is an apprenticeship subject. So there's an apprenticeship standard for a nurse. There's an apprenticeship standard for a healthcare support worker, for a business admin worker, for a customer service assistant. They're called standards because there's a series of knowledge elements and skills elements that are set inside each apprenticeship, designed by employers, saying what standard you need to meet to be able to get that apprenticeship. So that's why they're called them standards. The other thing that you can do is you can get real people to come and talk to you who are in the sector, people at school. So your schools can ask for eye care ambassadors to come, eye care ambassadors or health ambassadors. They're people who work in the sector who are willing to volunteer to come and talk to the schools about their jobs. You could get a midwife to come, you could get a healthcare scientist to come, you could get a digital security specialist to come, and they talk about their jobs, and they will talk about career pathways through apprenticeships or otherwise. What's good about that is you can ask them, you can say, what do you hate about your job? And they'll tell you. Right, so the next thing is apprenticeships and job vacancies. The thing that you need to get is it's not like a college course. You can't apply in advance and say, right, I want to do a nurse degree apprenticeship. I know it exists, I want to do it, I'm going to start in September. It won't happen. Unless there's a nurse degree vacancy, it won't happen. The fact that the apprenticeship exists is irrelevant until the employer decides that they're going to recruit a nurse degree apprentice and put them through the programme. It's a job before a course. Do you get that? That means you have to think about it really differently from applying for a course. Often apprenticeships are offered to existing staff. I'm going to come back to that. That's something you need to bear in mind. Right, my advice to individuals, for what it's worth. So think about your career choices, use the tools, find out what's of interest, know where the vacancies are. I'm going to tell you a bit more about that in a minute. Register on these vacancies. I've got all the links. The Apprenticeship Service vacancy website, some of you will know about that already. Register on it, say what sort of things you're interested in, and they'll tell you. They'll alert you. Same with NHS jobs. You can register and get the sort of jobs you're interested in. Look at local employers and look at the Proud to Care website, which I'll come back to. Get yourself ready, and if you have registered, you can usually put your application, a draft application, on the website. If you put your draft application on the website and a fantastic apprenticeship vacancy comes up, and they've limited the number of applications that they're going to even look at, the chances are you could fine-tune your application in an hour and a half, and get a really good application. If you're starting from and get it in on time, and be one of those people they look at, if you have to start from scratch and write your application once you see that vacancy, and if they only limit the numbers, and if it's a fantastic vacancy, the chances are you won't get there. And a lot of NHS trusts limit the number of vacancies. They might limit it to 100 applicants, the number of applicants. Otherwise they get thousands and thousands of applications, so they limit it. So that it's tactics. Get your stuff ready, get your basics ready, and then never press the button that you've applied until you've tailored your application form to that job. Because that's the other thing. If they can't see how you've tailored your application for the job and to the specification of the job, you go in the bin, believe me. So you need that time to fine tune, not to start from scratch with your application. For me, I think it's really useful tactic to think about getting into your first job, your first apprenticeship, and then applying from there. If I'm an NHS trust and I want to put a few people on I'm sticking with nurse for a minute, nurse degree apprenticeship, the first thing I'll do is I'll pick up, usually, not always, but usually, I'll pick up my really good healthcare assistants who I know, who I trust, who I see are really good workers, who I know are motivated, and I'll put them into the apprenticeship. I might decide to advertise externally, but if you're already in the employer, if you're already in that organisation, you'll have better opportunities perhaps. So that's what I mean about it being steps. You can't say, I'm going to be a nurse, I'm going to start here and go on a programme. I don't have to worry about any applications, I just do my learning. It's not like that. You have to manage your pathway. You have to apply through, sometimes you have to apply for each step. And maybe if you're at step 3 in your plan and your employer doesn't seem to have step 4, you might have to go to a different employer, zigzag over. You have to manage your career. You have to do that in other non-apprenticeship roles as well, but that's just something to think about. Know that your first step doesn't limit. That's the other thing. Please, parents, don't make them decide the rest of their life for their first job. If you go into apprenticeships, you can really use it as a way of finding out what you're good at, what you like. What you're testing is whether or not you like working in the sector. So you might start as a carer, and you might say, no, that isn't for me, it isn't my strength. I want to do IT. You can do that in the first opportunities. That's part of what the apprenticeships do. They open up lots of choices. And if you want me to tell you when it's launched, May time, or just look out in May, Proud to Care, there'll be information. There'll be real local vacancies put up by employers who really want to recruit locally, and they will be probably there first before they go onto some of the other portals. So that's worth knowing. Right, my final thing, progression via multiple steps. I think I've said this a bit. You have to take lots and lots of steps. So you could take your first step, your first job. Sometimes there's a single step, I've said that, but often there are multiple steps in your career. So progression relies on you. Progression in through all the different steps relies on you having the initiative and knowing what the steps might look like, what your pathway might look like. So here's a pathway. This is a pathway to nursing. So you could come into nursing as a healthcare assistant, an experienced healthcare assistant. You might be able to go onto a registered nurse apprenticeship straight away, or your employer might say, we're going to break it into, instead of a 4-year programme, we're going to do a 2-year programme and a 2-year programme. You can even have a rest in between, because you'll be knackered, because it's such hard work studying as well as learning. So this is the sort of typical pathway that could take you from an inexperienced school leaver all the way through. Let me say an inexperienced and potentially not even a highly qualified individual. So people who don't have A stars in their A levels can still become a nurse. They can still progress and become a nurse through this route. The other thing to bear in mind is that these career pathways you can access in different ways. You can start at the beginning and work all the way through. If there's a vacancy for a nursing associate apprenticeship, and there will be in the next year, they'll be looking externally for people to join at that point, then maybe you can apply there. The first people they'll take on there will be people that have got experience of healthcare though. Say I was interested in IT, and I wanted to work towards being a cybersecurity technical professional with a degree, I could do that. There are apprenticeships that will take me through that pathway. So how it would work is that, say I was starting from scratch with GCSEs and nothing spectacular. I might start, I don't know if you can see that, as an IT support person at level 2. So I'd look out for an IT support apprenticeship. When I finish that, I've got options. I've got 3 different level 3 IT type jobs that I could choose. Say I chose, what should I say, the digital support technician. Once I've completed that, I've got 4 options at level 4 I can choose. So do you see I can start to create my own individual pathway? Don't forget, the first job doesn't rule the rest of your life. You could come in as a care worker in a care sector. You could work up to be a social worker. Take you a few years, but you could get there. There's a pathway. You could decide you didn't want to be too hands-on-y and be a manager. So that pathway, the pathway exists from care worker to manager. Care worker could also go through to paramedic. What I'm trying to say is that the first opportunity gives you a chance to see where your choices are. Apprenticeships are a really positive opportunity. They're not for everyone, but you should look at them and you should consider them, and you should make an informed decision not to use an apprenticeship route if you choose not to, but knowing what they can do for you. Loads of choice, loads of information. Try not to be overwhelmed. Start with those pages that I've given you and have a look round. It's very easy to just be completely swamped, but those are the best websites, I think. Don't set your career in stone. Keep your options open. Think about jobs, not college, and think about pathways. Research has shown that people that work their way up and have healthcare experience tend to be better nurses.